Had a lot of guys that played really hard. Unfortunately, we didn't play very well as a unit in really any phase. We did create some explosive plays offensively, but we couldn't run the ball again this week. So if we're going to improve offensively moving forward down the road, we got to be able to run the football and still be able to create some explosive plays. On the reverse side, defensively, didn't tackle very well. Had lots of bust on defense, which is kind of uncharacteristic since the opening game. So we got to go back this week and improve tackling, and we got to create an edge in the special teams. When you look at South Carolina, all of Coach Muschamp's teams have always been very well coached. They're physical. They play hard. They're opening it up offensively and they're spreading the ball around. They've got good wide receivers, good runners. Play hard on defense. Get off the field on third down. So we've got a tremendous challenge this week, and I think it's a great opportunity for us. It's a hard place to win in Columbia, especially at night. So it's a tremendous challenge for our team moving forward. Excuse me. Any questions?
Jeremy, the slow starts, is there any way to pinpoint it? Teams have outscored you like 69-16 in the first quarter.
It's usually when you start a game, you've had the whole week to kind of, okay, these are the plays that we're going to start with, and it's an opportunity to put the defense on their heels a little bit. For whatever reason, our execution has picked up as the game has went every week. So we've talked about it as a staff, been heavily involved in trying to figure out how to get going offensively to start the game. Some of it has to do with who we play. As the season has went, we've definitely improved offensively, but so has our opponents as the season has went a little bit. So we got to figure out a way to score some points in the first quarter. We've played behind almost every single game, which our kids have on offense have continued to try to play the right way as the game goes and made adjustments, but we got to figure out a way to put some points on the board early.
Jeremy, when you look at your guys' struggles running the ball, what are some of the things that you feel like you can do to try and get those numbers where you want them to be?
Well, we got to be able to block the guys up front. We still have way too many mental errors, and on the offensive line, at quarterback, tight end, wide receiver. You should know what to do. I'm talking about getting in the correct stance, stepping with the right foot. There's lots of ways when you're going to run the football. You can say, hey, I'm going to run zone to the left side over here. Well, you got to guard, a tackle, and a tight end. Well, if they put 5 guys over there, you probably shouldn't run that play. Well, to give your guys a chance, you need to have ways out of it. So when we make checks and things like that, you've got to be able to adapt and understand where the mic's at and where we're going from there. And to me, that's where some of the issues have showed up. Sometimes if you're going to run the football, you got to have RPOs set up, and hey, maybe you can't block a defender there. Well, the answer is you got an RPO behind it. Well, that comes on the quarterback getting the ball out of his hands. So there's lots of different ways, and then you just go back to the old-fashioned, hey, you get a hat on a hat, and everybody's fitted up, but maybe we get defeated there. So, and you can, sometimes the running backs have got to run the ball the right way too. So there's lots of things that goes into it.
Coach, you kind of staying with the run game, you looked at a lot of different guys at guard combinations on Saturday. Did anybody kind of stand out that maybe hadn't played as much before?
Well, Riley Locklear, wasn't able to practice till Thursday. Jameer had been out and couldn't take any reps. Chance Hall, he's kind of, we've had him on a pitch count all year because of his knee. So, the one way to get better at something is to do it over and over and over. And if you hadn't had a lot of practice, it's a pretty tough deal when you go out there and play against some of the better D linemen in the country. So, we've got to get some guys healthy up front. And then we got to execute better. It's kind of like the things I just talked about. If we do make checks in a run game, we got to be able to get it done. If we got RPOs tag to the run game. We got to recognize what we see, and we got to get the ball out of our hands so the box is fair. We got to finish blocks, and then the running backs have got to run the ball, and we got to stick it up in there. You know, sometimes in this league, getting back to the line of scrimmage isn't a bad run. You know, and every run's not going to be a home run. And if you keep sticking it up in there, you know, zeros will turn into 2, and then they'll turn into 4, and they'll turn into 6, and eventually you'll have a chance to spit one out.
Jeremy, can you update us on Jarrett's health, and then how do you plan to approach it this week during practice with him and Keller?
You know, I think Jarrett's going to be fine. You know, he took a pretty good shot, took a couple of good shots. So he's a tough guy, and I expect him to be out there.
Just going back on that, looking back on film, how did you think each of the 2 quarterbacks fared? What stood out that maybe you hadn't noticed Saturday that you saw on film?
You know, we probably had more errors from that position than we've had the entire year combined. And we've got to improve on that. There's lots of things that go into playing the position. If you're going to play against a team that's well coached as Alabama, it gives you multiple looks. You got to be able to redirect the fronts in protection. You got to know where you're going with the ball because they do a good job disguising for the quarterback. You know, I said before, there's lots of ways you can affect the quarterback. You can hit him, you can get your hands up, you can get him off the spot, or you can just disguise where he has to hold the ball. And we got a little bit of all that Saturday. So, you know, we tried to give formations that kind of indicated what they were going to do, but too many times we probably started on the wrong side or had possibilities of changing the front or changing the protection, and we didn't get it done. So we've got to improve there.
Coach, can you update us on Mike Abernathy? Was he close Saturday, and do you expect him to be able to go this week?
You know, he's kind of day to day, and you know, Micah wants to play. It's obviously his last year, and we'll see when we get out there today, but we'll probably know a little more as the week goes.
You mentioned a couple of them early, but when you went back and watched the game, what were some of the predominant things that jumped out to you on rewatch that you maybe didn't see on game day?
Well, we made a lot of mistakes, unforced errors to me is what I would say, and it's kind of. I kind of said it after the game. I said it at halftime. You know, we have a lot of guys that try to compete and play to the standard and the expectations. But unfortunately, you know, you got 11 guys out there. It takes all 11. And, you know, and even the guys that are trying to do it the right way, they're not going to win every battle. That's part of it. But you got to give yourself a chance. And it's unfortunate for some of the guys in our program that do it right all the time. If we don't get everybody else to do it, nobody knows how hard they actually play, or, you know, and things like that. So it's kind of the challenge to the players that in my opinion are, you know, not doing it the right way or not willing to kind of just turn it loose and go. You know, I mean, we got beat. What was the score? 58-21. So, I mean, what would it have been if everybody would have just let it go? Might have been 58-21. If it was worse, would it have mattered? You know, so I think the guys on our team, they kind of know where they stack up in that deal. And you know, for us to get where we need to get to, we need some of the guys that do it the right way to demand that, whether it's their roommates or their friends, their teammates, that they get on the same level as them.
Jimmy, and then John.
Jeremy, talking about some of the players that are not doing it the right way, or are you basically talking more about some of the veterans that have not been able to buy in yet?
No, because we had guys that played really well against Auburn that didn't play nearly as well Saturday, and it had nothing to do with who we were playing. I'm talking about mental errors. I'm talking about just I kind of said maybe the moment was too big. I don't think it's too big. I just think the team on the other sideline changed, and I think it affected some of the guys in our program, which is unfortunate because we had a lot of guys that played really hard and played the right way. But when you're playing against a team of that caliber, you know, it takes all 11. And hey, you know what? We might have had all 11 of our guys play the right way the entire time, and may not have won the football game, but that's okay. It's like I told our staff, if we'd been playing over here in the scrimmage, okay, or we'd been practicing, there's an expectation, a standard that we should play every day. And we had a lot of guys that did that, but we had some that didn't, and it affected everybody else.
Yeah, Jeremy, after the Auburn game, did you feel differently about the team? Did you feel like kind of like everybody did play the right way in that game, or?
Most of the time, not all the time. There was some guys who didn't. We got them out and then got them calmed back down and got them back in there, and just a little bit of poise and confidence and all that. And to me, this is about building our program. Again, I've said it 2 or 3 times. We've got a young team, an inexperienced team. I think on Saturday, until Keller went into the game, and Todd played a little bit Saturday. You're playing 4 seniors, so the bulk of these guys are going to be back. And there's lots of guys that are doing it the right way, practicing the right way, preparing the right way. And, but until we're going to be, at our best, we had everybody doing it. And trust me, these guys didn't wake up on Saturday and say, hey, I'm not going to be at my best today. Some of that has to do with who walks out on the other field. Some of it has to do with the scoreboard. Some of it has to do with how you feel. But you can't let that affect you. It's clutter. You got to go be at your best if you're going to have a chance to compete against guys like them or anybody else. To me, that's the standard. We want to be at our best, and if we're good enough, we're good enough. If we're not, we're not. But at least our guys play at their best.
Well, Jeremy, did that surprise you that guys that didn't play that way against
John, it was a little disappointing. It was disappointing because we have made tremendous strides in this program in the last 10 to 11 months of guys from where they were at in January to how they've started to competing. It was, and I wasn't as much frustrated for me. I'm frustrated for the guys that were doing it the right way because they deserve their teammates to help give them a chance.
Vince and then David Cobb.
Coach, 2 things. Looks like J.J. Peterson played a little bit. Was that just special teams, or did you get him any snaps at all on defense? And then also, what do you see in South Carolina?
Yeah, I think J.J. ran down on a couple of kickoffs. Just kind of what I said. I mean, they're going to be very well coached. They'll be hard-nosed. They always are. They are throwing the football a little more probably than they have in the past. I know Brian McClendon and Dan Warner being there, they're spreading down. They got a good quarterback, good wide receivers. They're balanced. So, but really for us, we got to fix us. It's kind of said it every week. That's the thing. Is our goal is to be at our best and play at our best, prepare to do that.
Jeremy, with those 4 seniors, you mentioned all being D linemen. How do you sort of manage that position? Is there any urgency down the stretch this season to get younger guys in? And do you have to approach that position different than the way you approach the other positions on your team that have youth?
No, those guys, they work really hard to be at their best, and they've played really well for us this year. So we're gonna keep letting them play. They deserve to play. We'll worry about next year.
Coach, we're at a certain point of the season, and you talked about earlier on, first couple of games, you were trying to find guys that were leaders, and at this point, maybe, you were the leader of the team. I remember you saying that. Have you gotten to a point where you can look to somebody on offense and defense and say, hey, we need you to pick it up and pick up your teammates in certain situations?
Well, I do think that we're getting close because you can sense some frustration with guys doing it the right way because it's easy to tell. All you got to do is watch the film. They're out there every day at practice. They know what guys are capable of. They know what calls we've worked. They know, what I'm saying? So it's hard to run from the video. So I think as this season goes, I see more and more of it. So which is positive.
Last couple, Blake and Patrick.
Jeremy, you've mentioned before that when someone's not doing the right thing, you got to confront them. How do you handle that when a lot of these players aren't guys that you recruited and maybe don't have a lot of time with you in the past?
I mean, I'm the head football coach, so everybody under me I'm responsible for, and the guys not playing at their best, ultimately that's my responsibility. And it's frustrating for me, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge for our coaches, for me, for everybody associated with our program. It's the beauty about being a football coach, being involved in this game. You know what? It's easy to coach the best team in the country. You know, I've had an opportunity to do that a couple of times. The challenging part there is to get them to stay at that level, right? But to me, if you want to know how good a coach you are, just look at what you put on the field, because what you put on the field, that's yours, that's mine, that's ours. And we've got to do a good job of getting these guys to play at their highest level all the time. And that all comes back to me. And to me, I'm looking forward to the next 5 weeks, starting today, to get our guys to do that. That's why you get in this business.
Patrick, and the last question, Wes.
Jeremy, you were already down Micah and Trayvon in the secondary. Then you lose Sean and Alante during the first quarter. Kind of how did you review how the secondary played and some of those guys that hadn't played much that got more time Saturday? How do you think they performed getting kind of thrown in there?
Well, you know, we didn't play like we needed to play. We gave those guys too many easy plays. You know, there's when you look at the tape, there's lots of mistakes that we made, and we need to improve on, and those guys can play better. And we're going to work hard this week to get them to do that.
Wes.
Jeremy, what were your impressions of, or if you had any, of Jake Bentley when he was a recruit coming up through there in Opelika? Was he someone that y'all looked at? What were your thoughts on him?
You know, we recruited him, and he, you know, his dad Bobby used to be the head coach at Burns. So I've known him for many years. He used to bring his team down to Hoover High School when we had 7-on-7 there. You know, Jake's he's a coach's son. He understands what they're trying to get done. He's tough. He can get the ball out of his hand, makes all the throws. It's a very unique situation that he leaves. You know, really, he could have played his senior year in high school. He leaves and goes to South Carolina and ends up being the quarterback. Says a lot about him. We'll have to find ways to affect him Saturday, because if you let him sit there and stand in there in the pocket, he can deliver to some really good players. So.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.